here. So,
Hey man, you got a job.
Ah, good morning.
good morning. We gotta chill out for just a second. We gotta hear this. That's Sheila. Sheila on the drums.
Like getting up in the morning, yeah,
Yes,
freshening up.
yes. So we gotta start saying our good mornings. We gotta give a shout out to Stone Freak for being here first in the chat.
Number
And
one.
then we have to give a special shout out to Nick Felton. Thank you so much. Mila is always here. Thank you so much for your commitment. And that's Prince on the bass. Oh my God. Nothing like it. Good morning, Tanja. Great Saturday. Good morning, Audria. Good morning, Man Ray. Olaf from Houston, Lisa Williams. I love those keys that keep coming back. You got the look, different songs.
You ordered your Michael Deans yesterday. Talking about the headphones.
All right. Okay. I love this song. We are playing 15 from Madhouse because it is week 15 of What Did Prince Do This Week. We got Drea Dances representing the Shy. We got Private Joy in Houston. Love that. We got Deborah Lydell, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We got Christina. Good morning. Welcome to the dawn. Got Baron in the house. We got Rossi. We got Kim. Eldabara is in the house. Welcome. Twin doll Krista. Theo. Larry. Hello, hello, hello. Ah. Love that face.
You know what would trip me out about Madhouse? What would trip me out about this is if they found out that he actually had like song lyric versions of these songs.
Oh.
That way my head would just go.
Oh my God. I've never even considered that, Michael Dean. That would be absolutely fantastic. Oh my goodness. No, you didn't. Now we got to search in the vault.
Yeah, don't let us find out that there's actually. I don't even care if they were like just basic kind of, him just kind of gigging or something, but
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So welcome, Lee Christian. Prince used those Ensoniq pads. I had an Ensoniq back in the day. I can't remember what number, but yeah, I was rocking an Ensoniq. I love that keyboard. And then we got Arlene, week 15 on April 15th. Break it down for us, Arlene, because I didn't even realize that. Thank you so much for that. That's the reason why we're in community. This is the reason why this is our book club, because Michael Dean and I, we don't know everything. We don't pick up on those kind of Nuances. Brunch, D'Angela and Michael, my Saturday ritual. Thank you so much, Audra. Again, it was so wonderful hanging out with you a couple of weeks ago in BK. Welcome, JD Washington. Good morning, Web Diva 3000.
Yes,
Good afternoon. It depends on where you are. Michael Dean is good morning.
yeah. Oh, wait, Stone Freak. Yeah, the ASR 10. Okay. I played around with that. That's E-Sonic, right?
Yeah, I think so. I had an EPS 16 and ARS 10.
Mhm.
And then, yes, we're week 15 already.
Conspiracies commence.
That's a good conspiracy, though. Madhouse vocals. I think that would be pretty awesome. And yes, don't freak. This number 15 is one of my favorites because I love Sheila on drums. I know there's, some people who kind of diss Sheila on drums with Prince, but Sheila's my favorite drummer with Prince because she is a percussionist, and I find that her drumming is so rhythmic, and she just puts in like these little flourishes every so often in these fills, and it was just really, really incredible. And I love this name, Purple Cat Confetti. Denver, Colorado says good morning. All right, so we are going to start off with our housekeeping first, and we're going to try to make this super quick. Thank you, Panic Survivor. I really appreciate it. And oh my goodness, Theo, are you being funny or are you serious? And then let's see. Yes. Welcome, Celie. And
What's up,
so let's get through this housekeeping really quick. Week 15 are one of my favorite gifts of all time, courtesy of El Debar, who is here with us today. Thank you. Thank you. I'll never be able to say thank you enough for that. And then we should know the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. We're going week to week, not date to date. And again, for those who arrive and don't know what's going on, this is the book that we are reading. In the expanded edition of Prince in the Purple Rain era studio sessions, 1983 and 1984. But the early part of 83 is all about the 1999 tour. So that's what we've been talking about. And we're going to be talking about the final date of the tour today. To find out our reading schedule, because we do want you to read the book, you can go to bit.ly/Prince Book Club. And no, you don't need the expanded edition if you have the original edition, but the schedule is based on it. And okay, Theo, I was about to say, I'm glad to see that someone else is serious about my Sheila E, because I was about to say, what? I love some Sheila E now, especially Sheila E with Prince on drums. I mean, with Prince, Sheila E with Prince and Sheila E being on the drums is one of my favorite things because I'm a love sexy band with no name kind of person. All right, so we're going to get started and we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening next Saturday. And I totally understand if you're not with us next Saturday because it is Record Store Day. And Record Store Day is happening April 22nd, 2023. For some reason, there's no Prince release this particular Record Store Day, which is actually good for What Did Prince Do This Week? Because I was thinking, what would we have done if that was a Prince release? I don't know. So I got to figure out what are going to be the contingency plans when there's a Record Store Day with a Prince release. So luckily that's not the case, but I hope that you will still go out and support your local Record Store buttons. And yes, and I got a request. Gonna get this set up here for yes, because Sheila E, all about the love, sexy, band with no name. All right, so let me know in the chat if you guys are going to Record Store Day next Saturday, and if so, what are you looking for? Like, what are you seeking to pick up? I would love to know what is on your Record Store Day roster. Dr. Claw, it's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so what happened this week there was an announcement about what I call the black vinyl versions of both the Gold Experience and the Truth, which have been previous Record Store Day releases. So I'm excited about these releases. Michael Dean, are you excited about these releases, or what have you heard out in those internet streets? Because I haven't been up on my internets this week. I'm tired.
I mean, probably heard everything that everybody else heard about it. Am I excited about them personally? No, but I'm not hating on them either.
Okay.
So hey, we want to put out Prince music. I'm with it. I won't probably buy them, but somebody will. And I'm just glad they're doing something. I'm not mad at it. I know some people are like, oh, we've already seen it, and I get it. But you know what? For whatever reasons they put this out, I don't understand the rhyme or reason about it. But somebody releasing Prince music, that's a good thing to me, whether it's been out before or not.
Yeah. So Zach, it's always a pleasure having you here. And Zach is saying he's planning on dropping a bunch of money, which is rare. But the main thing I'm after for Record Store Day is a vinyl release of the 60s garage rock compilation Nuggets. I have wide tastes. I have wide taste too, Zachary. I'm not mad at you. And then Kim, I love hearing this. If I actually almost wanted to come to the ATL just because I saw the list of DJs that will be at Moose Music. It's like all day for Record Store Day and the ATL at Little 5 Points. If you're in the Atlanta area, definitely check out Moose Music. I don't know. So Kim, tell me, in the past, Moose Music has opened like an hour later than like Wax and Facts and Criminal Records. Like, are they aligned in terms of their opening times nowadays? Because I always thought that put them at a bit of a disadvantage. So
I would say shout out to Moods Music. I live in Seattle. I ain't never set foot in that place, but I used to send that brother CDs that he was selling for another artist I was working with at the time. He was always solid, real cool. Did good business. So salute to him, man.
Yeah, definitely. And so Lee Christian is saying no new Prince, no me, mainly due to budget, but a new P release would make me go the extra mile. I'm with you on that. My Purple Gang always attend Record Store Day. And Panic Survivor, what will you be doing next Friday for the anniversary? I haven't even thought that far. I live in day-tight compartments, Panic Survivor. So, what's really interesting about this question is when they started originally doing the celebrations during April, I actually didn't like the idea, but I went. And now I feel weird not being in Minneapolis on April 21st because they've moved them to June for his birthday, which is, I think it's more appropriate to celebrate his life than it is his passing. So I'm happy that they shifted it, but then I always feel some kind of way not being in Minneapolis, and I'm not rolling in the dough where I can go in April and in June. But if I was, I would probably be in Minneapolis, because Drea Dances will be in Minnie next week, and we'll head to Fetus to find some classic when I get a break from my conference. So Electric Fetus is another, obviously, the record store in Minneapolis to go to for Record Store Day. And we got Dr. Claus saying the truth on vinyl. That's cool. Yes, Zach is in the chat. Might get something from the Soul Jazz label. I don't do vinyl though. Audra would be at Moose. Yes, I love seeing. One of my favorite Record Store Days was that I saw Audra at Moods. I was in the Criminal Records line, and we saw each other from across the street from each other. It's just so great. And then, yes, the re-releases are dropping on June 9th. Would be nice if they just give them to us at Celebration as a gift. That's a great idea.
Maybe they will.
Yeah. And shout out to Daryl of Moods Music. We can't shout him out enough. And Twist and Shout Music Store on Colfax in Denver. Love these shout outs. Let's see. Something's better than nothing, but the sure thing is that they can do better. They can just ask the fans. Panos from Athens, Greece. Not sure of the hour since I don't get up at the crack. I understand that, Kim. And let's see. I'll buy the Prince records as gifts for friends. I want to support this state, even though I may already have certain releases. I so appreciate that, JD. I am going to support the estate as long as I can. I'm meaning like financially, I'm good. So that may not always be the case. You know, you have to express gratitude for your situations today, because who knows what the future might bring. And Christina might go to Electric Fetus either Friday or Saturday. Butcher Brown and Bruce Hornsby's Secret House is on Tanja's list. Purple Cat is going on June 1st. You're for vacation time. Yes, Electric Fetus is one of the best. Rodney is going to get Nora Jones, Nas Live, and Larry Levon, The Garage.
Nas Live.
I hadn't heard about that. And then, yeah, I hear you. Okay. Appreciate you, Michael. I think there's a bit too much entitlement with Prince fans. It's becoming a bit annoying. I hear you. Yep. So you're not the only one. I have friends who go like, why are you guys asking for more stuff when you haven't even listened to what Prince gave you in his lifetime? So I hear you. No. Welcome, Val. All right. So let's get this party started. I wanted to give thanks to Michael Dean for inviting Randy Ferguson, who was an attendee of the symposium, one of our New Power friends. I love this hashtag, Michael Dean, that you have. And he joined him, and you guys talked about celebration as well as a really great review of the symposium. So I just wanted to officially thank you so much for doing that, Michael.
Oh, you are quite welcome. And shout out to Randy, man. I met him, like I said, there. And I said, you know what? Let's just get on the mics, man.
Yes.
He was great.
Yes, he was great. And whoops, didn't mean to do that. But if you click on any of the slides, if you click on it, it was probably you starting to talk, because I had clicked on the link, because all the slides, it's on the homepage of the book club website. And when you click on them, it'll go automatically to Michael Dean's YouTube. And I did that by mistake, so my apologies. And then people keep asking, where are the archives? So if you have any friends who are asking, just let them know. They can always find the archives of this symposium, as well as any symposium I've ever done or any Prince event, on my YouTube channel, which is at Polished Solid. And there are 3 videos, and will be 4 videos on Vimeo. Most notably, Dan Charnas is on vimeo.com/polished solid due to the music issues on YouTube. So just be aware that there are more videos on Vimeo. And I want to give a massive thanks. I finally found out who came up with the For You crew, Melissa Riley. So I want to officially thank Melissa Riley publicly for the For You crew. Yes. So I'm glad. Yes. So Arlene, please tell everybody Dan's talk is on Vimeo. So yes. And let's see. Okay. All right. So I'm showing this for Tammy Sharp. And I know you guys can't really see these little girls. One of these little girls is me. And you can kind of figure out, if you know anything about me, which one I am. So I'm going to let you marinate on that for a hot second. But I will tell you that I am the one all the way to the right that's kind of set aside from all the other ones, because I'm one of those people. If you see a lot of people gathered, you step aside because I'm an introvert by nature. And also, you can't really see, but I can see that I'm looking at them because I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do, because I usually do the opposite. That's kind of like who I am. So, and the reason why I'm showing this is because Tammy brought up me in a leotard last week. And so this is the only, I'm going to show you 2 pictures, These are the only 2 pictures that I know that I was in a leotard. This is from 1974.
Wow.
So I did wear a leotard. And I really got to
Oh,
show this one. Thank you, Drea Dances, for
oh,
Introverts Unite. Yes. Thank you so much. So
man, you're a cutie. Like, it's like my little daughter or something.
yeah, but the reason why I really wanted to show this one, because we talked about how the time at the symposium really, like, was, showing up on Prince and all that, is that I love that I'm wearing a clock. And this is like my little, even though I didn't know about the time at the time, because the time didn't even exist, this is my little person homage to the time. And I thought that was,
Safe, but
yeah. Oh, I love this Prince Traverse. I'll take that. So let's get into it. Week 15, 1983. And let me talk about week 15 of 1983. So we got one live show, which is actually the final show of the 1999 tour in Chicago. And I am so thrilled that we're going to have a special guest for you to talk about the Chicago show, and we're going to bring them on in a few seconds. But before we do, let's talk about week 15 really quickly. So we got one live show and we got 4 studio visits this week of week 15. 3 songs were tracked, and the asterisk is based on the research that Prince Vault and Dwayne Tudor have done. And this is our April calendar. So you can see that on Sunday, the final show for the 1999 tour was in Chicago, Chi-Town. And Rodney, I'm sorry, I love this. The Heart from Love Sexy. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, sexy. Thank you for that. And then What Time Is It? Featuring little D'Angela. Yes. I'm gonna have to go back to that just so I have that quote on with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate that. All right. So getting back to what happened this week, on Monday, they took a break. I don't believe that. So I'm curious, like, what else was going on that's not documented. And then on Tuesday, the 12th, we have the bird that's being tracked at Kiowa. I can never say Kiowa Trail. One day I will learn how to say that without
say it's at the crib. It was at the house.
at the crib. Yes, there you go. And then on Wednesday, supposedly there's nothing. I don't believe it. So again, maybe we need to do some more research. And then on Thursday, we had an Untitled song, which eventually became Chili Sauce, and then a mix of My Summertime Thing. Then on Friday, Proposition 17, which was, I guess, the tentative title of Chili Sauce. And then on Saturday, he goes back. And all of these are at Sunset Sound, Proposition 17, and If the Kid Can't Make You Come. Yes, Kawa. Thank you, Man Ray. Yes, love that. And then here we go, our final show of the second leg of the 1999 tour in Chicago. And this, again, is cribbed. This map is cribbed from princevault.com, but you can see all of the cities that Prince went to for the second leg of the tour. So I am now going to bring on our special guest. And our special guest is Mignon Stewart.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes. So I am so excited to have Mignon here because I couldn't find anything about the Chicago show. And the Chicago show happened on Sunday, April 10th, 1983 at the University of Illinois, Chicago Pavilion in Chicago, Illinois. And Mignon was actually there. Yes. And this is Mignon's ticket.
Wow.
And you can see that the ticket was $13.
$13.50. Can you imagine that?
No, not at all.
My son was saying you can't even get a t-shirt for $13.50. And I said, you can't even pay the fees on your ticket for $13.50 right now. So.
$13.50 is the cost of the Coke.
It's hard to believe.
Yes. So tell us about, first of all, like, where did your Prince love start? And so tell us about your Prince, a little bit about your Prince journey, and then tell us how you found out about this particular show.
Mm.
So my Prince journey started really early, and it started, I guess, kind of in a more superficial way because it actually started with the Afro Picture Centerfold and Right On magazine. So so that's where it actually started. But then, I had the 45 of Soft and Wet. So I started listening to the music early, but I think it was, I would say, probably the Prince album that really
Mm.
solidified me for life as a Prince fan. So
Mm.
that was the album that locked it in for me. And so I had been wanting to see him for a while, but I was kind of young. And there were interesting stories coming out of his concerts, especially around Dirty Mind. So my parents weren't feeling that, letting me go to see him. And so it wasn't until 1999 that I was actually able to go. And he had been here. He came to Chicago twice that tour. Um, he was, I don't remember, I don't know what month he was here before, but I didn't get to see him there. I actually harassed the men who would later become my husband, who I found out in an English class that he had seen that first tour, and I just had to know everything about the first concert. That's actually how we met.
Wow.
Um,
Wait. You said you met your husband back then? Like,
I did.
wow. Salute to you.
Yeah, junior year high school English class. I overheard him talking about having seen the 1999 tour, and I just had
Wow.
to interrupt the conversation to ask questions.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was our first conversation. Yep.
I'm just gonna jump out the box. How long y'all been married?
Oh, well, we've only been married for, let's see, we married in 2011.
Oh, okay. So y'all been
Yeah.
kind of friends and knew each other.
Yeah, known each other all that time, and then 20 some odd years later got married. Yep. Yep.
That's-
That was the first, that was the start. Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know it, I don't remember exactly how I knew. I just knew Prince stuff. I stayed on top of it. And then my sister Valerie, and her boyfriend at the time, Quay, they offered to take me to see him for that show. So that's how I got to see him finally.
So can you tell us anything that you remember about actually that day, like getting to the show and all of that?
Sure. I remember being very excited and very nervous. I remember my sister warning me not to embarrass her. Don't go acting
Yeah.
crazy, embarrassing me. It's my older sister. So I remember being warned. Um, I remember we were late, and I was really frustrated that we were leaving late. And I don't know why we did, but we missed most of Vanity Six.
What?
I know, right?
Uh-oh.
Right?
My God, I would have been livid.
I was so, yeah. So it took a while for that to fade after we got there, but I was very frustrated that we were late, and missed most of Vanity Six, which I was, yeah, not happy about. Not happy
Mm.
about it, but got over it. Exactly. No, that was my response. That was my response. But yeah, but it was the little bit that I saw. I remember enjoying and having to let go of my frustration about being late so that I could enjoy once I was there. And Yeah, so that's what I remember about getting there. I don't remember a lot about the time.
Mm.
Um, I know I saw them, but I don't. I think I was so in anticipation of Prince that I don't remember a lot about their performance. I mean, I'm sure it was great. I'm sure I enjoyed it at the time. But I don't Travesty 6. Uh, so but I do remember the when Prince was going to hit the stage. And I think I was so in shock about the fact that I was going to see him, that he was in the same room with me, that I don't think I even screamed or clapped or anything when he first came out. I think I was just standing there staring. You know, I think I was just staring at first. Like I was just so amazed to be there, just so
Mm.
amazed.
Where were you sitting? Do you remember kind of how close you were sitting?
Not very close. The pavilion is not a huge venue,
Okay.
but I don't think we were particularly close. So and that was back in the day where, there were no video screens. So you just
Right.
you just
Right.
enjoyed what you could see. Exactly. If you had
Mhm.
binoculars, you use that. But yeah, we weren't particularly close. We were probably up, on some balcony level. I'm sure the ticket probably says. But not particularly close, but close enough that I could feel that energy,
Yeah.
close enough that I could feel that energy from him being on stage. And
And I'm sorry, how old were you again? You said 13?
yeah, I was 16.
16. Okay.
Yeah, I was 16. Yeah. It was a year I graduated from high school, actually, that year.
Mm.
And our high school graduation was in that same space.
Oh,
Um, and
Oh, wow.
so I don't know what made me think, like at the time when we were walking across the stage, I was like, I'm walking across the stage that Prince was on. Like,
That's right.
like
Yeah.
that wasn't the same stage, right? Like,
Same building, same different.
okay. Yeah.
but at the time, it felt like, oh, he was right here in this space.
Wow.
But yeah, so yeah,
So looking at the ticket, it says 23 lower. So in
Mm.
section 109.
uh,
So is the pavilion still, does it still exist?
there's something still there, but I haven't been in that venue in so long, so I have
Yeah.
no idea. But it's not it's not like a Madison Square Garden, it's not a
Mm.
huge place. So it's relative. I would say probably relatively close, in a big
And
city.
so do you remember anything about the crowd and the crowd's reactions to Prince?
Just, pandemonium. Just no pun intended. No. Yeah, I just remember just screaming and yelling and hard to hear at certain points. And whenever he would do, I don't remember the specifics, but we those of us who've had the luck to see him, how he teases the audience and
Mhm.
plays around and jokes, and everybody was in it, just in it for all of that. Just really responsive. And my memory is that it was a great time. A great time.
So I'm gonna just oh, Michael, you're about to ask
Well,
something.
I just wanted to ask, like,
Yeah.
you were 16, and I was talking to my daughter about this yesterday because she's a young Black woman. She's 20, and she was playing me. I'm gonna go a little bit. She was playing me Summer Walker, but I didn't know who it was, and I listened to it. And I was like, God, this reminds me of when my cousin used to play stuff for me that I wasn't necessarily into, but this reminds me back when I got into Prince in the sense of it was my cousin, and she was listening to this music that seemed different. It was a certain vibe and aesthetic to it. And I was like, Prince had this aesthetic back then, just sonically as I'm listening to it, what she's listening to. And I was thinking, I said, there's a thing that Black girls, there's a style of music, there's an aesthetic, there's a vibe that y'all be into that it's its own thing into itself. Like it still exists today. It is different artists, but this is still the same kind of vibe. And so I was just curious, like, what is it that got you into Prince? That there's something that you saw about him. There's a reason why you were looking at him like that, as opposed to just listening to the music. There's more to it. I just feel like he sort of tapped into something, but I'm just asking you, like, was there something that you identify with Prince, and you're just like, I need to see this man. I'm young, you know.
Gosh,
Yes.
Michael, that's a hard question. I mean, I don't know if I can put it into words. I mean, I think I you just knew he was different,
Mm,
right? Like there was just a difference to the music, a different, I listened to R&B and stuff, but I also was into rock music and everything like that. So it felt like all of the things I liked was right there in that one person and what he was doing. And it was new and exciting, and a little dangerous. I mean, it was a little dangerous and a little risky and, sexy in a way that when, coming of age at that time was, kind of whoa. So that was definitely part of it. And and he seemed sensitive, I guess.
Mm.
There was
okay.
a sensitivity, I think.
Hmm.
It wasn't, he always had this like balance between the brash kind of bravado thing, but this vulnerability, right? That was
Hmm.
always mixed together. I think that is pretty, I think, attractive.
So I'm curious, like what kind of rock music were you listening to? Who are some of the acts and things?
Oh, let's see, that was 83. So, you know, yes, Gen X. We listened to pretty much everything. Yeah, I discovered the Beatles, and I was really into Zeppelin, and I don't know if I discovered. No, I hadn't discovered Kate Bush yet. Yet that was later. Um, but Fleetwood Mac, just kind of whatever was on the radio, and then all the new wave stuff that was going on at the time.
Mhm.
I was really into new wave music, and so all of that kind of came together, and Prince, like all of that energy was right there.
Yeah, it's like Prince was the amalgamation of all of those different genres, and then he was something else unto himself. Like I
Yes.
always say, Prince is his own genre.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people who gravitate towards Prince, particularly back during those times, are people who did listen to all kinds of music and could see that Prince could play all kinds of music. So thank you so much for sharing that you're into rock, because I was very much into rock myself. In previous episodes, I talked about how my uncles were a huge influence on my listening habits, and they just listened to everything. So yeah. Oh my God, the comments are coming in. Um,
I look like I was in Duran Duran. I don't know how to take that. I hope that's good.
we're gonna take that as good.
I like Duran Duran, but I was more Culture Club. I was more
Oh,
I
Culture Club.
love Coach. Yes, yes. Boy
Culture Club,
George is great.
Eurythmics.
Yes, Eurythmics. Yes,
Uh,
yes.
that was more the vibe.
So Mignon, Tracy was our guest who spoke about seeing the 1999 tour in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
So yeah. And Tracy's saying it's so hard to remember the details about the show, but remember the excitement and how the performances drew us in and made a lasting
Mhm.
good impact.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely. I mean, I do remember the bed moment. I mean, how you got to remember that if you don't, you don't remember anything else.
that's the
And,
part you remember. Huh?
and the thing that I remember about this, and I don't know if my sister might be watching, but I'm going to embarrass her for a minute. But but the thing I remember is in that moment, it was, of course, it was exciting, it was thrilling, and my sister was screaming louder than I was. And I thought, I'm like, you warned me not to scream and yell and everything. But she was at least as loud, if not louder, than I was in that moment. So that's part of what is special about that memory of the bed moment. It's like looking over, going, "Wait a minute."
Uh,
Yeah, yep, yep.
awesome.
Had never seen anything like that. That's for sure.
Real quick, I want to make sure we shout out Vault House there. Thank you so much for the super sticker. We appreciate that. Thank you, Vault.
Oh, great.
Thank you. And let's see. So many comments. I'm trying to make sure that I get everybody's comments on the screen.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
do you remember, like, so for me, I actually don't remember the bed moment, which is actually really interesting. I don't remember anything about Princess Set during the 1999 tour. I only remember Vanity 6. And again, in the past, I've attributed that to girl power. And I think also when it came to Prince, I would go kind of catatonic because the only time I met Prince, I could not say one word to him. So I'm assuming that the first time I saw him, I was just in shock. I was just in shock. And I can remember everything that happened before. Everything that happened afterwards. But I just could not remember Prince's Set. So I have the ticket and know I was there. And again, so tell us a little bit about after seeing the show. I mean, did you go to the Purple Rain show? Like, did you have to go like see all the live shows? Can you tell us a little bit about your live show?
Sure. Yeah. And I'll just quickly on Purple Rain, like on 1999, I get that feeling of like not remembering details and feeling like, I feel like that's how I was, at least at the very beginning. The few things I do remember is that whole international lover thing. And I don't remember what the specific songs were that were part of where he just goes to the piano. I don't remember what songs were part of that, but I remember just being amazed by that part of the show because I'd never really seen someone just do a completely different take on. I'd been to concerts before, but I hadn't really seen anything like that. So I remember just that making an impression on me and just being really excited that he did Something in the Water because that was my favorite. That was my favorite song.
That's my favorite Minuet. My favorite. Something in the Water. Yes.
And it's funny because I see you put up the set list and I see Still Waiting was on the set list. And I wish I remembered that because that is, I'm sure at the time I was thrilled because that was one of my favorite songs from the Prince record. But I had no memory that I'd ever seen him do that live. So that's pretty amazing. But yeah, I did see, I had the pleasure of seeing him a total of 8 times. And so I did see the Purple Rain tour and I saw Love Sexy.
Sexy.
I surprised my little brother. He's 10 years younger than me. And I surprised him and took him to see Love Sexy. I don't know what the name of the tour was, but it was around 3 Chains of Gold. I saw him in Maryland for a show.
Act 1 or Act 2 or something like that?
Yeah, I think I don't remember the name of that one. And then Musicology, the Musicology after show at House of Blues here in Chicago. And then I saw him 2 performances at Welcome to Chicago in 2012, where I was really happy. My sister was at that show, so that's a nice full circle. She was at the 2012 show. And I was able to take my mom to see him in 2012.
Wow.
Which was her first concert since Sam Cooke.
How did moms take that? What did she think about
Oh, she was so excited. Yeah, she hung in there with Prince when she got over the initial shock.
Yeah.
And then I took my son, who was only 10 at the time. And so I'm really glad that he got a chance. Who would have known? But I'm really glad that he did get a chance to see him.
So
live.
envious of you taking your mom. That's something I always wish I could have done and took my mom to see Prince because she just was like, she was older. She was just like, that's. But she would have if she'd have just been able to see it for herself in person.
Yeah.
She loved it.
Oh yeah, it was great. She got a T-shirt and everything. She was
nice.
Love that. Yes.
So I have to say that my mom took me to the Purple Rain show. So that was the first time my mom and my aunt and uncle took me to the 1999 tour. I mean, I'm going to say this again when we talk about the Purple Rain tour in the Atlanta, Georgia date at the Omni. But what I remember about this show is that when my mom and I were going in the venue, there were 2 escalators going down. We were on the one to the left, and the one to the right started going really fast, and people started piling up on one another at the end of the escalator. Luckily, we were on the other one, so we were just watching this happen. So that was like my introduction to the Purple Rain Tour at the Omni, which wasn't, it was really weird experience. And again, what I remember from that show is Sheila E. I don't remember Prince. I remember Sheila E. and her laser drumsticks, which were fantastic. I was a Sheila E. fan. And then I also got to take my mom and my sister again, my mom again and my sister to the musicology show. So that's where we kind of align, and they love the show. And then for Welcome to America, I was able to take my aunt and at one of the Madison Square Garden shows, and that was the aunt who took me to the 1999 tour.
Nice.
So I've had a lot of family moments with Prince live shows.
Oh yeah, we have, like, our family is all full of Prince lovers, both on my side and my husband's side. And when we went to the Welcome to Chicago show in 2012, it looked like a family reunion. Like, there were so many of us. We have the picture on my bookcase. There is us, and there were so many family members there that we really.
Awesome.
It's great to have something like that to share as a family.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Mignon, for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. You have no idea, because like I told you on pre-show, I was trying to find something on the Chicago show and I couldn't find anything. So I started Googling and I saw that you had gone to the show, and that was your very first show. So I'm so thrilled that you actually accepted the invitation, because you could have told that, no, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. I was like, how did she find me? But I'm glad you did. This has been so much fun, and always great to connect with more members of the Prince community. It's just awesome.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to take you off the stage. All right, so let's go back and look at the set list for the Chicago show, and we're going to compare it to the Detroit show from that Friday, April 8th, and then the Chicago show again was on April 10th. And again, this is the final show of the tour, and I wish I was Mignon, because I just think that the Chicago show was probably the best show on the tour for a lot of different reasons. One, it was the last show. Two, you can see that the set list is much longer than any that we have seen. And so let's kind of compare the two. So he performs DMSR after Do Me, Baby. And, he was doing that through most of the tour, because what was unique about the Detroit show was him playing Sexuality, which he didn't play a lot. And again, it's one of my favorite songs. And Let's Pretend We're Married, which he did bring back towards the end of the Chicago show. I'm assuming for encore, but I don't know that to be true. I have to look back on Prince Vault to see if they have that detail. And then for the interlude, we have With You and we have Free. And he also played Free at the Detroit show, but he played Something in the Water, which would have been like, I would have lost my mind. I would have remembered that, because that's one of my favorite shows. I mean, my favorite shows, favorite songs off of 1999. And then you can see he goes back to sort of the sequence of songs that he performs a lot on the 1999 tour, which is Still Waiting, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, Lady Cab Driver, Little Red Corvette, Dirty Mind. But then he does bring back Sexuality, I'm assuming again for encore, and Let's Pretend We're Married, International Lover in 1999. So that had to be a phenomenal show to see live in person. So again, mad thanks to Mignon Stewart for joining us and sharing her experience. So I was able to find this on Facebook, and that I'm going to read from Alan Leeds. And Alan Leeds posted this on April 10th of 2012. And he writes, Alan Leeds. On this date, it's all things Prince. In 1983, we wrapped the 1999 tour in Chicago with a private after-show party at Park West. Only problem was no one got a proper permit for an all-night affair, and not 10 minutes after Prince, me and Big Chick found our way to a booth in the middle of the club, we were tipped off that the Po-Po were outside about to raid the joint.
Po-Po.
Yes. I decided Prince didn't need the publicity, in quotes, so I called for our limo to come back. Alas, the driver had left to gas up. No time to waste. I found a route out a side door to one of our tour buses that had ferried our crew to the party. I wasn't the only one with that idea. Racing alongside were crew guys, members of the Time and Revolution, and some girls they had picked up along the way. Prince, Chick, and I crammed into the bus, which was standing room only, like a rush hour subway, as the driver closed the doors and made his way back to our hotel. So the sinking of Purple Rain in Miami 2 years later wasn't the first anticlimactic end to a Prince tour. And I won't read all of it, but then but I got to read this part, the last two sentences. And this is based off of 2 years later, they're in Brazil. And Alan Leeds writes, we were more talk than action, but Prince was no longer the only one in our camp who fancied himself an international lover. More on Brazil tomorrow when we hit the beach.
Funny.
Yes. So this was the end of the tour. I am so sad, actually. Oh, thank you again, Mignon, so much for being here with us. So appreciate it. I'm really sad, Michael Dean. Like, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do this book club was because Dwayne actually does document the 1999 tour, which has a very special place in my heart in this book. And, the second half of the tour, the second leg. And we are at the end of our 1999 part of the book. So, oh my God, I feel a little sad. I really do.
Gonna be all right.
I want to cry just a little bit, but we're gonna get through it. But I did find this really awesome article from Time Out, and it is from April of 2016, and it's an article about all of the different times that Prince performed in Chicago. So we got February 28th to 29th, 1980, the Uptown Theater for the Rick James Fired Up Prince Tour. And then we have December 26th, 1980, Uptown Theater was a Dirty Mind Tour. March 24th, 1981, Park West, Dirty Mind Tour. So he went to Chicago twice on the Dirty Mind Tour. And then for December 5th, 1981, Airy Crown was a Controversy Tour. Then, like Mignon said, there were 2 dates for the 1999 tour. One was in December for the first leg from the December 9th to 11th, 1982 at the Auditorium Theater. And I love that we're seeing this because during his 3-night stand, Prince raised funds and awareness for educator Marva Collins, West Side Preparatory School. And during his stay, Prince sat in on classes at the Garfield Park Grammar School, stating, "This is the kind of school I always wanted to go to." And yes, in 1994, Prince would feature Collins in his video for The Most Beautiful Girl in the World.
Already putting in the work. December of 1982. And then April 10th, 1983, the date that Mignon just spoke about at the UIC, the University of Illinois Chicago Pavilion, was 1999 tour, the second time for Chicago on this tour. And the next time would be for Purple Rain in December of 1984 and the Roseman Horizon. And this is where it was painful to be a Prince fan in the States. I was in pain
From 1984 to 1988, there were no live Prince shows in terms of major national tours. And that's the reason why it's so important to me. It's because I was able to see Prince live finally after the Purple Rain tour. So all the European fans out there, you were so lucky to get all of those shows and tours in between Purple Rain and Love Sexy. So his next time in Chicago was for the Love Sexy tour after the Purple Rain tour, 4 long years. They were really long in real time, because as a kid, time takes forever. As an adult, like, time flies by. But as a little kid, like, time takes forever. And I was a teenager. So I was 14 to 18, a lot of growth in between those times. A lot of 12 inches, a lot of B-sides.
A lot of videotaping performances on TV.
Yes.
Watching them over and
over again, because that's all we had.
Yeah.
That's all we had. I mean, we had like the VHS of the Syracuse show.
Syracuse, Under the Cherry Moon premiere party.
Yes.
Love Bazaar with Sheila E.
Oh, yeah, Sheila E's VHS. I still have that.
I used to go to the video store and just kept renting it to the point I just kind of kept it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I'm with you, C. Lee. Yes. We love Sexy, Michelle King. You just have no idea.
So, yeah.
Yes, the Europeans, they got all the goods, Tanja. Yes, Cuckoo, Rodney. Videos, the videos are fantastic. Cuckoo was the introduction to the world, at least, besides Star Search, of Cat, but Cat in the Prince camp. The Cuckoo video is incredible. It's still one of my favorite videos of all time. Love the Cuckoo video. Thank you, Rodney. And
this right here, can we just
go ahead.
This comment there. This could be a whole podcast into itself. But remember, did you ever used to have like the VHS video clips and it just be all Prince stuff? You would just, oh man, I wish I had all that stuff. I mean, you can find it online, but
yeah, I still have my VHS tapes.
Really?
Yeah, I've kept on to them. And so what's interesting, Kim, you say watch the UTCM MTV stuff over and over. What I did was I recorded the movie of Under Cherry Moon on cassette. So I had the audio and I listened to it every single day. My sister, who's 10 years younger than me, so I was like 17 and she was 7, knew all the words of Under Cherry Moon because I played it every single day while I was rocking.
Now, Mary.
Yes. Because we didn't have, we didn't have that much, and he wasn't touring, and I had to hold on to something, and it was just like, that's how we rolled.
Hilarious.
Tanja says Tanja still has a VHS as well.
Wow.
I love this. Yes, the clips we used to clip together. I love that, Pine Hill. And Purple Rain didn't make it to the UK. I tried getting tickets to the Hit and Run. Tower Workers sold out in hours. Boo-hooed on that bus ride home, I'm sure. And first show was what a great first show, though, Web Diva. I mean, what a great first show. Okay, thank you, Kyle. I'll reach out to you. I thought you were just kidding, but I will reach out.
Oh, Kyle, you sent me a number.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Michelle. So yes, the Cuckoo video got played a lot on BET. Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Remember when I remember when it came on and the style that they had at the time, it was unlike what they had done before. I remember just staring at them. They had the glasses, the jeans, and the hair. I was like,
the braids and the ribbons.
Yeah, I was
in the hair.
God, how did these people exist? I was just blown away. Like, it was just dope to me.
Yeah, Lee Christian.
I was like, Sheila E. Listen, Sheila E. was beautiful. Like, I was just like, the hell. And then Cat It's like, yo, how does he do it? I was just like, ah, loved it.
Yes. Yes,
Loved
the Love Sexy Symposium is obviously one of my favorites of all time. Just seeing Kat come out on that stage
it.
is like something I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. And also having Ingrid, recite the rain is wet, sugar is sweet. That was really, really incredible. It really, really was. Um, Miles Davis loved that cuckoo video. He said he loved the colors. I never read
Oh,
that. Thank you, Love Sexy 71 for letting us know. And I feel like I missed something from C. Lee, but the chats are coming in. Oh, I know. I put it. Yeah, I was a VHS Prince King. Transfer all my VHSs to DVDs.
mm,
Yes. Yep. So I used to do my own mixtapes on cassette.
mm.
When you you have a double cassette deck, those were the days. And let's see,
Yeah, I used
something
to take
comment.
like concerts and put them on cassette tape just so you could listen to them. At Silent Times, you put that on cassette, just play it over and over, try to play the parts, try to learn how to play the parts in the songs. Oh, man.
Yeah. So many great comments in the chat.
That was the study years.
Yeah. I love this comment from Lee Christian. The Love Sexy live sandwich with Sheila E. and Kat.
Mm.
Oh my God. Love Sex is my favorite tour, although I was born until over a decade later. I'm not mad at that, Theo. It is my favorite tour as well. Yes, to the double cassette deck. Yes,
What's
Mignon.
up, Robin?
And let's see. Precision rewinding with a pencil. Yes. Ooh, I had totally forgot about Night Flight, Rodney.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for that.
Robin Power, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing?
Hello, Robin. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, thank you. We so appreciate you. And the Ride Divide.
Man.
Yes, yes. So let's go back to the Chicago list because we're not done. So in addition to the Love Sexy tour, the next tour date in Chicago was August 1991 at the Hyatt Regency for the WIA annual convention. And then it was after 91, we had April of 93 at the Chicago Theater Act One tour. And then we had November 21st, 1996, Park West. He was in town to do Oprah. And they say the show kicked off a little before 1 a.m. and featured a tight 5-piece combo during a career-spanning set that was most surprising because it only lasted a little over an hour, a microsecond in Prince concert time. People don't like short Prince. We're learning that people don't like Prince short Prince sets. And I don't blame them. And then after the 96 show, there was a 97 at the United Center Emancipation Celebration. And then in next year, 1998, the Aragon, if I'm saying that correctly, Ballroom New Power Soul Tour with Shaka Khan and Larry Graham. And then 2 years later, on November 16, 2000, the Riviera Theater Hit and Run Tour. And then March 30th, 2001, Park West. And then the Chicago Theater One Night Alone Tour. Shout out to Darlene Nisi, March 2nd through 3rd, because that's her favorite tour. Then July 22nd, 24th, 2004, Allstate Arena for the Musicology Tour. And I'm assuming that's probably where Mignon saw the Musicology Tour. And then we have February 28, 2006, Congress Theater. And Prince appears next to Protege Tamar. And this tour was my husband's favorite Prince tour because Prince was just rocking out on the guitar the whole time. And then we have 6 years later, September 24th through 26th, 2012, United Center, the Welcome to Chicago 3-night stand. And then
Love some Chicago.
Yes, June 29th, 2013, Promontory Point. And then the next day, maybe an after show, or I don't know, at the City Winery, June 30th. It's Chicago gig at City Winery. 22-piece band set kicks off at 2 a.m. And the Purple One pays tribute to our city with a Fine Impressions cover. So yeah, this is, let me put this in the chat for anyone who wants to do, because I went through that super fast, wants to read more about all of his Chicago dates. So I was really excited to find that article, and be great if some others would compile similar complete histories of Prince's performances in certain cities. All right, so we're finally to week 15. Well, we started with in terms of the studio sets, because we talked about the final show of the 1999 tour. I had to, grieve just a little bit because I'm really gonna miss talking about the 1999 tour. Yes, and Mignot saw the musicology, and the after show at the House of Blues was incredible. Thank you so much, Mignon, again for joining us today. And again, I just want to put Tanja's comment back on, because I didn't give it proper reverence. Now I get why Chicago was first for the Prince experience. Yes, and the Prince experience was incredible. I hope that everyone got an opportunity to experience it. I was hoping that it was going to travel. It still can travel to other cities, but I thought that the Prince experience did an incredible job for a couple of reasons that I will restate. Almost everywhere you looked, you saw Prince. From the moment you walked in, it was filled with Prince. Not only was it filled with images of Prince, it also had Prince's words, Prince's own words, not Prince people talking about Prince, but Prince's own words throughout the entire space, which I also very much appreciated. And then the other thing that I really appreciated, and it was so darn simple, was they had this display, and it was like a winding, almost like a maze, but every single studio release Prince had ever done, with the image of the cover and all the songs, so that people could see the breadth of everything that Prince had done in terms of just studio recordings. It was so simple. And I was like, I wish Paisley Park would do this, just show everything so people understand that Prince is more than 1999. Prince is more than Purple Rain. Prince is more than like these albums that we have a tendency to focus on. There's so many, like, what about Lotus Flower? Like what, there's just so many more albums that we can be talking about. So, and that's actually one of the reasons why I started doing the symposia, was that I didn't think that we were having the conversations that we should have about certain Prince albums. And one of the symposia for next year, it's going to be virtual, is the Come album. I don't think that people talk enough about the Come album. It's one of my favorite Prince albums of all time. And then in 2025, we are going to do a Around the World in a Day symposium, because that is one of the best Prince albums ever, and it really doesn't get talked about in the way that it should. So that's the reason why I do the symposia, is to talk about Prince albums that we don't talk about, and that they all require a further deep dive. So yes, Theo, you are with me. Come is a very underrated. Is very underrated. So, all right, let's move to the studio. And we're going to talk about on Tuesday, April 12th, 1983, in the Kiowa Trail Home Studio in Chanhassen, Minnesota, we got the basic tracking of the bird. So I'm also doing this for myself a little bit, just to remind myself of what I have. So this is a promo only I have of the time, the bird. I love how simple this color is. And for the 1999, for the Triple Threat Symposium, we had yellow for our wristbands, because whenever I think of the time, the color is always yellow, and this is one of my favorite 12 inches because of it. So this is
what's the remix, or is that just the longer version? Or
I think it's just the longer version. I haven't listened to this in a long time, but I don't really think it's a remix. If I remember correctly, it's just like a longer version. Okay. And as you know, everyone should know, it is on the Ice Cream Castle album, and this is the re-release that Rhino did, one of two actually, and this is the Neapolitan, so the tricolored vinyl, which is absolutely beautiful. And
That's a gangster ass picture right there. Like, the Jets, like, they like balling
yeah,
bosses. I love it.
yeah, such a great album cover. I just
We
love
rich.
it. And I love like Jerome on the cover, you know, like how he's like picking something off of, it's such a fantastic, just really fantastic cover. So
Man.
we got, let me see. Let's see what Dwayne is talking about in terms of the bird. We got to do some reading, Michael Dean. So
About the bird.
um
Mhm.
hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go come back and talk about this, what Dwayne writes about on pages 60 and 61, because he's starting to talk about the Purple Rain film.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't want to go there right now. I kind of want to stay here for a bit. So if you don't mind reading on page 62 about the bird.
All right, I can do that. So, like you said, Tuesday, April 12th, 1983, The Bird. I'm just going to jump to the quote from Jesse. I wrote a 4-track on the 1999 tour. Prince kind of liked the hook. He threw the rest of what I did in the trash can as he commenced to write and performed a straight heater. I love that. I love it. A day after he arrived home from Chicago, Prince spent part of the afternoon in his basement recording a new song called The Bird, written by Jesse Johnson for the time. That evening, after Morris Day added his vocals, Johnson was called over to Prince's house and was blown away once he heard where Prince took the track. In 2014, Johnson posted a story on his Facebook page about the recording on that night and how Prince's tape machine broke down and Johnson was asked to rewind it by hand. You want me to get into this right here?
Yeah.
All right. So Morris is laughing his ass off. And of course, I'm like, man, that. You better call Don Batts, his tech, to fix that ish. Prince is now cracking up. We have to finish the song. So I go, what the F? And start rewinding the tape by hand. Prince could see what I was doing. So I had a drumstick on the reel where the holes and I'm rewinding the tape. And I rewind the tape. By the time Prince sees what I'm doing, he yells, what the you doing, Jesse? Rewinding this raggedy ass machine, I said as he jumps up to come look at the tape to see if I damaged it in any way. He sort of trips over Morris, who has this long ass Q-tip type things that are made for sticking in a solution and cleaning your tape heads. So before he could reach me, he's yelling at Morris to stop using his tape head cleaners to clean his ears. Well, they was acting funny. And if they ever make a movie, they gotta put that in there. That's just hilarious. Now I'm on the floor because Morris would always do that, and Prince had told him 1,000 times before not to. Needless to say, we got the track finished, and the rest is history. Man, I love hearing stuff like that. Just in the studio with your boys, trying to get work done, people's clowning. Day's vocals were added very quickly, but his singing lacked intensity. Prince tried to add some of the fun and energy with spoken comments like, hey, Morris, find out if you've got any fine girlfriends at the 4 minute and 49 seconds in the song. Wolf whistling and using a longer keyboard riff of the Star Spangled Banner doing the fellas, what's the word section at 5:30. But overall, the excitement wasn't a success. Experiment wasn't a success. Status. The studio version of The Bird was considered for placement on the next album by the time, but was ultimately replaced by a live version recorded at First Avenue on October 4th, 1984. The studio version remains officially unreleased. But when you hear it, it's kind of nice. And then lastly, I'll just say Although Jesse has publicly explained that he went to Prince's house on a Wednesday night, it is possible that he got there late on a Tuesday night and the session drifted into the next day. I'm going to read the last sentence in the voice of how they be doing these types of things. This may have been recorded on Monday, March 14th, when they were all in Minneapolis for a show at the Met Center. Salute to Dwayne.
Salute. All right. Yeah, Mike got a censor button.
Yeah, because you don't want me saying crazy stuff like, you dumb. It's a family show.
Yes, I appreciate the censor button. All right. So the bird, basic tracking, assistant engineer Don Batts. We got to shout out Don Batts. And then next, again, I don't believe Prince took a break on Wednesday, but I this is all we got so far.
Before we go to that song real quick, just to say, man, make sure we give Jesse Johnson his respect.
Yeah.
The bird. That's Jesse.
That's Jesse.
I mean, come on, man. That's one of their biggest hits.
Yeah.
So, I know last week there's Jesse is just a clone. No, maybe I was doing a stream and he's not a clone. He's in the studio doing some of your favorite songs. So I love that little crew, right? That's actually my area. If I was gonna really say the Prince, Morris, Jesse connection, that little click right there, man, nothing but it was, as Jesse said, straight eaters. They was making head busters, man. They was making songs that was so dope. They had to keep them on the shelf because they knew if they would have had, we're about to get in a summertime thing, chocolate, all that would have been on Ice Cream Castles. Man, it would have been all right. You couldn't have that kind of funk in the movie Purple Rain, and them boys would have, they was gonna be a problem. But anyway, I thought it.
Yes. Yeah. Jesse's interview on Questlove Supreme is actually really, really awesome.
Good, hilarious. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is a great.
I might have to do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. So next up we have, and we already talked about this during the Triple Threat Symposium. So my summertime thing, and so this is the second time that Prince is in the studio working on it, and he's working on the mix, and this is at Sunset Sound Studio 2, and then also they start basic tracking and overdubs on an untitled song, which will eventually become Chili Sauce. Also on Ice Cream Castles, and I have to shout out Pandemonium, which is this is actually my favorite time record. I love Pandemonium. I just adore Pandemonium. So Summertime Thing ends up on Pandemonium. So anytime I can say Pandemonium, I will, because it's a really fantastic. Yeah, Dr. Claw, Chocolate back in 1984, but I'll take Chocolate when it was released. I love, my favorite version is when The Time performed it live on Arsenio Hall. That is the definitive version for me because they speed it up. It's much faster than the studio versions. Yes. Thank you, Man Ray. Yes, you understand. So I want to read about, yes, Lee Christian. I'm glad to see Pandemonium getting some love. I want to read Dwayne's entry in the book about my Sometime Thing, and we're reading on page 63. And I'm going to read this quote from Wendy first. It says, okay, I'm going to explain it like this. If you're playing funk and you want to up the ante of the groove, you would say chili sauce, and the groove will take a subtle yet massive change. Hopefully the result is even funkier. So that is Wendy. And then I'm just bringing up a couple of comments. Yes, and the Saturday Night Live versions were fire. Yep. And okay, bottom of page 63. One of the hallmarks of Prince's career was that when a new challenge truly intrigued him, everything else would become secondary.
Mm.
Once he got the bug to create a movie, the planned dates for a European leg of the 1999 tour were canceled and the tour was officially over. I feel for you guys.
Just like that.
Just like that. Prince committed to focusing on the pending movie as well as any music that could be used for that project. The first date back at the Sunset Sound involved work on a new track for the Time. In the studio for the Time album, the band was there most of the time. They played on a lot of stuff, but Prince would be the leader of what was going on, recalls Peggy McCreary. Sometimes he would jump on the drums and then jump on another instrument, and then he'd tell Morris to jump on the drums. They weren't always there, but they were around a lot, meaning the band. I mean, Jimmy Jam, for example, wouldn't figure out what I was doing there. It was funny because he'd be like, "Man, you're really good," even though at the time I'm not sure he even knew what I was doing. The studio experience overall couldn't have been a better learning opportunity because he was very unorthodox, but it was very spontaneous, recalled Jimmy Jam. Prince was always the most prolific, always the quickest, and he was totally self-contained. I'm going to reread that in case you guys didn't hear it the first time. Prince was always the most prolific, always the quickest, and he was totally self-contained.
Yeah.
He could engineer, write it, play it. He could do pretty much everything and do it efficiently. It was a great lesson to me and valuable lesson on how to record. His attitude towards music was, you got to make visual records.
Mm.
The record has got to put you in a place where you visualize something. My summertime thing is listed on the work order, so additional overdubs or a mix probably took place. Prince purchased a 2-inch tape, so it's likely he started recording a new as yet untitled track, probably Chili Sauce as well. As he did much of the time, Prince started with a drum pattern. And this is Prince speaking. I've had this Roger Lynn drum machine since 1981. It's one of the first drum machines ever created. It takes me 5 seconds to put together a beat on this thing. It takes me 5 seconds to put together a beat on this thing. Prince began working on the song at 9:30 p.m. But you know what? You know, after seeing Dan Charnas like show that, and that video of someone programming
Mm-hmm.
the Lindrum, I could see where it seems so tedious, but I'm sure that Prince had that on like
Yeah, I mean, he's been working on it. He done mastered it, you know what I'm saying? And all them beats, he had his certain signature to it. So I can imagine, yeah, he was just like getting in this. Oh, okay. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Oh, yeah. I would have loved to see that, like just see him start it like that and just get into, oh yeah, and just hear that bumping. Oh, I know
Yeah.
that. That's why I say I can imagine Morris and Jesse and them just sitting there watching this cat and Jimmy Jam, like, damn, this dude
Yes.
killing them. Like, and the beats be dope. It ain't like he's coming up with just some corny stuff. This stuff is like, I mean, I'm gonna jump ahead. Just imagine if you saw him doing programming Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Like, you'd be like, huh? But anyway,
I really wish that Prince would have recorded all of his studio sessions. Can you imagine?
I would be dead. I just, my eyes. You can't keep your eyes open that long, Mike. You got to get away from the screen. I'm just be like,
Oh my God, that would have been incredible, especially when he was doing the drum programming. I would love to see any footage of that. I know it doesn't exist, but we can dream. So Prince began working on the song at 9:30 p.m. and had the basic tracks to tape by midnight. The next 5 hours were spent overdubbing the new track. Prince decided to add strings and a viola player, Novi Navag, who you'll see all over like Sheila E.'s record, and Purple Rain was recruited for the late session. Novak remembers he was really good to work with, very professional and a workaholic. When I first got a call, I was exhausted. It was about 12:30 at night, and I didn't really know them. And I thought he was going to be a little brat. I knew 1999 and I loved the song. And then I got called in for something for the time called Chili Sauce. He sat down and played the piano, and he was very nice.
Wow.
It is unclear whether any dialogue was placed on the track on this date, but it is unlikely because the name of the song wasn't listed on the paperwork. One C60 cassette was created of the track, and the session was over at 5 a.m. It was very common for Prince's session to last much later than those of most other musicians, McCreary explains. People say that you don't have to do a lot of drugs to be able to stay up that late, and I tell them, no, if you did a lot of drugs, you wouldn't be able to stay up like that. So that's Peggy talking. And the status is Chili Sauce, 5 minutes, 47 seconds, was released on the Times Ice Cream Castle album the following year. All right. So next up is, that was on Thursday. Then on Friday, so we're continuing to work on Chili Sauce on the overdubs, and we got engineers Peggy Mack, who was joined by Richard McKernan, if I'm pronounced that correctly. And then we have a working title for Chili Sauce, which is Proposition 17. So do you mind reading page 65 about, if you can? If not, I can do it.
65. All right. Proposition 17, aka spitting or hollering at him. Prince arrived a few hours late for the session, but once he did, work resumed on Chili Sauce, which at this point was named Proposition 17. The title becomes more obvious when you count how many times Dave propositions the woman he is trying to seduce in the song. The detail and layers of sound effects add to the humor of his seduction, setting up the scene in a public restaurant. He loved the sound effects we had and would sometimes just pop on the sound effects LP and just listen to stuff like body falls and restaurant sounds, remembers McCreary. If you listen to some songs, you'll hear restaurant Walla and Baby Crying. And Prince's song Lady Cab Driver had traffic. I always spend a lot of time, this is Prince talking, I always spend a lot of time and energy thinking about and seeking out those little touches, Prince explained to Guitar World magazine. Attention to detail makes the difference between a good song and a great song. And I meticulously try to put the right sound in the right place, even sounds that you would only notice if I left them out. Sometimes I hear a melody in my head and it just seems like the first color in the painting. And then you can build the rest of the song with other added sounds. Sorry. This was a transition day and a test day for a new engineer. Normally, Prince's sessions were engineered by Peggy McCreary, but she wasn't available for the next few days, so another engineer was needed. Prince had recently noticed staff engineer Richard McCurran thanks to an event in the Sunset Sound parking lot, as McCurran explains. So one day I was sitting in the front window waiting for Prince, and a number of fans were all by the front of the cars. And then in came Prince. He got out of the car and he was putting on his coat. And I saw the large group of fans, and I just stood between him and them. He turned around and he was just pale and he ran in. The next thing I knew, Peggy came out and said, "Boy, he really appreciated that." And so by the end of the day, he called me back there and he said, "You want to work with me?" And I said, "Sure." And Peggy was really happy because she could go on vacation.
All right. Thank you, Michael Dean. And then in the chat, Lee Christian saying, not sure if it's relevant, but Proposition 17 amended the Constitution of California to allow people who are on parole to vote. Thank you for that additional context. All right. And it said, actually, it won't be because it only came about in 2020. So I wonder what Proposition 17 was about for Prince. And we're on our final day of week 15 of 1983. So we're Saturday, still at Sunset Sound, and we're doing overdubs for Proposition 17. And then we are also doing basic tracking and overdubs for If the Kid Can't Make You Come, which is also on ice cream castles in the summertime. I can never say ice cream castles without hearing in the summertime in my head. So I do want to read. How are we doing? We're doing pretty good on time, even though I've given up on an hour. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're gonna ever go back to an hour. But I hope you guys understand. I'm a long form kind of person, so thank you for bearing with me. All right, so we're on page 66 of our text. And we're going to read about the overdubs of Chili Sauce and the basic tracking and overdubs of If the Kid Can't Make You Come. And this section starts off with a quote from Prince. And I love that Dwayne bowls all of the quotes from Prince in the book. Love that. So this is Prince. It was Morris's idea to be as sick as he was. And this is a shout out to Karen Turman's talk at the Triple Threat Symposium. Her talk was about Morris Day and Morris Day's own agency. So love that Prince is backing this up. That was his personality. We both like Don King and got a lot of stuff off him because he's outrageous and thinks everything's so exciting, even when it isn't.
I love that.
Hello, the Adult Symphony Channel. Additional work was done for these tracks for the time. Once again, Day was listed as the producer, but Prince was always in control. And this is Richard McKernan. Morris was never in the studio alone with me. When we were working with Morris, it was pretty much just to do some vocals. I don't remember him having too much to do with the production of it. Prince would put songs together, and my perspective of it was Prince would get to a point and say, well, okay, I'll give this one to Morris. I always got the feeling that he was thinking, well, I don't want this song on my album, so I'll put it out on his album. I don't know if that's what he was thinking, but it always seemed like that. I think that's an interesting perspective, point of view. And, obviously Prince is not here. And even if Prince was here, I doubt he would be open to having questions asked of of him. But I would want to know, like, when would he know that a song wasn't for his album? For instance, like International Lover was technically for the time. At what point did Prince go like, nah, I'm gonna keep that one?
Right. Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, he's has a history of taking back songs, right? So
yeah, like Kiss. Yeah. Yep. And so this is McKernan's continuing to speak. Their guitar player, Jesse, was there. Jesse was the only other musician who Prince would actually call in. Let me read that one more time. Jesse Johnson was the only other musician who Prince would actually call in. There were people that would float in and out, but Jesse was the only musician that added anything. I never did any drums with Morris. Morris would come in and fool around with the drums, but it wasn't anything that got to tape. Now that's interesting. But again, this is, for a specific session. However, this is what Dwayne writes. Jesse Johnson supposedly also played drums on the song. So we're talking about If the Kid Can't Make You Come. And McKernan continues, Prince had one of those old Linn drum machines, and you'd have everything set up, and usually on drums, he'd tell you the day before what he'd be recording. We'd get the drums down there, mic it up, and have somebody play it, and he'd show up, and then there would be a bass set up and a keyboard set up. And you'd get the things to that point, and he'd stop by before doing a vocal, and he'd say, tomorrow we're going to do vocals. Or sometimes the vocal mic was already set up in the room to the side. If he'd been in there for a bunch of days in a row, everything would be set up. So that was Richard McKernan. And this is Dwayne, work on the tracks occurred from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m., 7 hours. When Prince ended the session and left, the engineer was on hold for another 5 hours before they received word that Prince was not returning. Can you imagine 5 hours on hold?
And this is not superstar Prince necessarily. This is before Purple Rain, so he was already on them heavy, like, and you know what? I love it because he's flexing. I got the finances. We gonna lock the studio out,
Yep.
you know, and I'm gonna come in when I feel like it, and you gonna wait for me.
Wait for me. Yes.
Hey, I ain't mad at him.
Yeah. And yes, the Adult Symphony. Highly, highly recommend that you pick up Prince. I saw long title, Prince and the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions, 1983-1984. This is the book we're reading for the next couple of years. And then in year 3, we're going to transition to Prince Rain and Sign of the Times Studio Session, 1985 and 1986. So one of the reasons why we're reading this book, to be honest, is so that we can get to this book. So we can talk about the studio sessions for Parade and Sign the Times. All right, so let me read the rest of this chapter. Oh, this is funny, Nick. That's 5 hours if I need my money. Oh, this is so wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm sure Dwayne is thankful. I'll speak on behalf of Dwayne of thanking you for picking it up. And yes, this is before they could go online.
That's when you would read books.
Yes.
Do some other things. Keep yourself occupied. You had to use your brain.
Yes, and I love this comment. So coincidentally, Jesse Johnson mentioned here, I'm online checking out a few guitars to purchase before the summer Fender Telecaster is possible, though I must replace my worn Fender Stratocaster.
Okay.
And thank you, Anisha, so much for your kind words. I love this. I bet those engineers carried books on them. I bet they did. I mean, that's the reason why Eric Lees has such great notes, because he was tracking his time so he could get paid, you know. But yes. All right, so let me just a couple more short paragraphs and we'll be done with our reading for today. So the status, if the kid can't make you come, 9 minutes and 13 seconds was eventually edited down to 7 minutes and 33 seconds. I want those 2 extra minutes. Tanya Pendleton, I'm one of those people. I gotta have every second that I want it. So for the Release on Time's Ice Cream Castle album, okay. There was often a difference between what was written on the Sunset Sound work orders and what was actually recorded. McKernan explains his view on this. The work orders were just enough to get by because the record companies wanted certain information to be kept up on. Some people wanted every little thing on there. At Sunset, there was so much work going through that they kept it accurate by projects. So now, the work orders is one of the reasons why Dwayne was able to write this book in terms of, the detail. And that's a part of the book that I love, is actually, getting the work order information, like what time they went into the studio, what time they left, who was in the room. And obviously, as Dwayne points out, some of that information is inaccurate. But at the same time, it's still nice to have a sense of, who was in the room.
In a perfect world, and maybe at one later date, and I hope I'm alive, the best version of books like this will include the music. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll be whatever they need to do. But as much as I love the detailed description and all that, if it could have the music with it, with the because that's what it was about. It was about the music. It wasn't about the words on the screen.
Yeah.
That's when the ultimate version of these books. I keep faith that one day that'll happen, because that's when the kids and the people in the future are really gonna be able to soak up Prince. So you're gonna have the audio, the music, and you're gonna have the literature part to go hand in hand. And so this is what happened that day. So when you play you'll be able to play the tracks in the order and really get a real sense of, this guy was doing these songs day after day, or going into this concert, and you just get to hear it and stuff. That's when it's gonna be madness, man. they got to be able to do that at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And, that's one of the reasons why I love Dan Charnas's Dilettante book. They don't play Dilla's songs, but he actually mouths some of the stuff out, like the beatboxing and stuff like that. And it's such a different experience from reading the book. And I know that, I'm going to say it. I mean, so one of the best audio book experiences I've ever had is Will Smith's autobiography.
I love that book.
Did you listen to it on audio?
I bought it day one. Absolutely.
They did an incredible job on the production of that book. And I think they're like little clips, if I remember correctly, of some of the songs. And then, obviously, Will does some rapping in certain parts. It just brings the book to life. And I remember when I was listening to it, I was like, I wouldn't have gotten this if I would have just read the book.
Yeah, it's not even, I didn't read the book. I went to the audiobook first because I knew he was doing it. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be the ultimate way. And after listening to it, I almost wish that, not say the book didn't exist, but you're not going to get the full scope of it without listening to. And of course, this was before all the slap and all that. But if you just want to hear a great storyteller, that's a great audiobook. I called it a podcast when I listened to it, but
yeah, it's a great audiobook. And so I am so are you saying that does Mariah Carey also have an audiobook that she reads?
I think she does hers as well. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because I only like listening to audiobooks when they're read by the author.
I said it before. The Bobby Brown one. You get off your initial Bobby can't read that good, but once you get past that, it's great.
Yeah.
And they say their own. That's why I wish the Morris Day.
Oh my God!
I would have done his audiobook. I would have been so.
I was so disappointed because I was like, I know he's gonna do this audiobook. I know. I mean, like he has the voice for an audiobook, and he would have just brought it so to life. I hope that someone will encourage him maybe to re-record it with his own vocals and voice. I think it's necessary because I would just love hearing him do what I call Ghost Prince, the book. Like I would just love to hear that. So if anyone is close to Morris E Day, please tell Morris re-record his biography for us. We would absolutely love it.
Hilarious, Zachary.
I'm not gonna put this.
There'll be no Morris shade.
No Morris slanders.
In the book.
All right. So we got a few more slides, not many. So week 15. So what did Prince do so far in 1983? So far in 1983, week 15, 52 live shows, 1 after show, and 16 studio visits total. 11 songs have been tracked. The asterisk is because of all the disclaimers that Dwayne writes about. And then these are all the songs, the 11 songs that are tracked. So we got 3 in April, The Bird, Chili Sauce, If the Kid Can't Make You Come. So this week was essentially Time Week in the studio. And then we had 1 TV show last week with Solid Gold. So that's where we are. And then for next week, we are going to be reading pages 68 to 77. Again, our page counts are, hopefully you caught up with it, unless you're new to our What Did Prince Do This Week? But you still, even if you're new to What Did Prince Do This Week, there's still time to catch up because compared to how many pages in this book, it's a lot of pages. Yeah. It is, we won't count the all the notes. And I appreciate that Dwayne has all of these endnotes so that you can actually go back and read all the resources that Dwayne pulled upon. So the epilogue for this book ends on page 478. And again, we're reading this over the course of 2 years. So we have 400 more pages to go, a little over 400 pages. So you can still catch up. And that will cover Sunday, April 17th through Friday, April 22nd. And yes, Drea dances. Hi, Dwayne. Thank you for joining us. Yes, it is indeed a very big book. And Drea dances. Yes, he did a year's worth of work in 15 weeks. To be honest, like 2 years worth of work compared to other folks. Thank you, Just Rules. I appreciate you for the shout out. And yes, Dr. Claw, I read that book in Morris's voice. Yes, and I love Lee Christian when I read it. I did so with his voice in my mind.
Am I the only one when these Prince books come out like this, you get it, you know you're about to devour that book and you just sit down and you just start reading and you just don't want to stop. You just get so into it and you almost kind of want to slow down because like, I don't want to blow through this so fast. Like it would normally take me weeks to read something like this because I would probably get bored. Blow through this in like 2 days or something, like if that, just like, and then like with this, like I said, man, the ultimate, like when you get this book, if you can find some of the songs as you're reading them, you start playing them, it make you listen to the songs a whole different, like, oh, this is what was going on when he did that. I'm like, man. But yeah, I love not only this book, but a lot of the great Prince books. You just devour them. It's just great.
Yes. And I loved that's the reason why I really wanted us to do a slow read of this book. And so that you can actually listen to the songs while you're reading the book. That there's only one way to really do that, like really meaning read the book is also listen to the songs. So one of the books that I was really excited about was the 33rd and the 3rd Minnie Riperton's Come to My Garden. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And Brittany Proctor Habil, who was on our Triple Threat Symposium, Vanity 6 roundtable discussion, wrote that book. And while I was reading it, I would take the time to listen to the song. And it really enriches the reading experience when you do that. So I definitely think that you should do the same with this book as well.
Hey, let me I don't like letting nothing go, but let me read Robin's Mike. I find it funny that you asked me for an interview that I did, but whenever I post for fans to subscribe to my YouTube, you always delete my post instead of asking fans to support me. Sis, family, I don't delete posts on there. I think what you're seeing is when you post URLs into YouTube chat thing and it's not your page, it automatically probably is not showing your links. So trust me, I'm not deleting Nathan. Why would I do that? I'm not a hater, but I just wanted to make sure we don't want no misunderstandings. But yeah, I'm not nothing but support. So yeah, let's not do that now.
Yeah, we love you, Robin. Thank you so much.
Love here. So yeah, I'm not deleting your stuff. Trust me.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yes. And then trying to see the other comments here. While I wanted him to be more flexible with giving the time writes their name, now you can really understand why he says I'm the time because he wrote things without knowing which album he would put the songs on. Yes, I mean, especially for the first 3 albums for the time. Pandemonium is, obviously a whole other beast altogether. And again, I can never like Pandemonium. I just want folks to start talking more about Pandemonium. It's such a great album. And then Man Ray, yes, Man Ray 10. Let these books marinate like a good meal, particularly Dwayne Tudor's masterpieces. Love that you love the Minnie Riperton album. And hold on, I gotta get it. Let me see if I can.
Searching.
So this is the album that I speak of, and I'm going to go full screen because it deserves it. This is one of the best albums ever recorded by anyone.
Wow.
This Minnie Riperton, Come to My Garden. It is produced by the legendary Charles Stepney. It is such a great album. You gotta get it.
Do you have it in some kind of hard case or something?
No, this is just the plastic is still in. I haven't taken it out of the plastic. So that's what's showing up. And let's see. Yes, I think Tanja knows what's up. It's definitely a masterpiece. And love this comment from Theo. I'm not much of a reader, but I devoured Dwayne Tudall's books.
Mm.
And let's see. Love Pandemonium.
Pandemonium.
I just want Kind of State to be back on streaming. I didn't realize it was on streaming, so they took it off.
Huh.
I
I
guess.
didn't know it was on either.
And let's see, the Rotary Connections Jim Minnie. Yes. Minnie sung in the Rotary Connection. I Am the Black Gold of the Sun. It's one of my favorites. I remember when Minnie passed away and didn't understand why my mom was so upset.
Mm.
And let's see. Dwayne says, thank you both for the amazing information every week. You add so much context to where he was at the time. I may need to do a super deluxe version of this book eventually. I would love a super deluxe version of this book, Dwayne. And in fact, what you could do is possibly have it like more deluxe, like get some photos, and like maybe have it like a velvet cover or something.
Interesting.
I mean, just like really rock it out.
Yeah, what would a super deluxe of this book be? That's a good question.
I think it would be some of the stuff that we've been talking about. Like, I would like to see some of the tour ads.
Okay.
Some of the tour posters. Some of the live shots from the concert. Maybe more work orders, like the work orders themselves. Maybe images of the studios. You know what? I wonder if anyone has like if Jill or somebody has any images of the Kiowa Trail studio. Or if Susan Rogers has like images of the Kiowa Trail studio, like stuff like that. That would be incredible.
What about like, I think they've done this in other things, like, the tickets, like the actual, remake some of the tickets.
Oh yeah, remake some of the tickets. Love it. Yes, the super deluxe experience. Aw, Arlene, that's so kind. Include transcripts of each book club session. That would be a really big book. It's
right.
Oh my God. Yes, I love Princess instrumentals. So we started off the day with Madhouse 15, and I'm getting really sad, Michael Dean, because next week is going to be our last Madhouse morning because it's 16.
Have we went through all of them already?
Yeah, once we started, we've been doing, one for each.
We might have to jump into the 24 area or something.
I don't want the Prince Popo after me. Could a super deluxe version include song links, pics, etc.? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, Dwayne, what if you did decide to do that? I think having the perspective of the fans who actually attended has been really wonderful. So I have to give another shout out to Mignon Stewart today for joining us to talk about her experience at the last show of the 1999 tour. At Chicago, Illinois. And then we also heard from Tracy Humphrey about the Huntsville, Alabama show. And those are two shows actually that didn't have a lot of information that I could find online. So having like real receipts, from people who actually went has been really wonderful. So I think that would be really great to include it. Yes. I love the first person stories as well. Yep, they are incredible and always inspire. All right, so we are at the end of What Did Prince Do This Week, week 15. So you're going to join us next week, and I can't wait for next week because next week is chocolate. Chocolate is one of my, yes, Michael, you got it. It's the chocolate. It's the
yeah. Prince, he don't do nothing halfway. It's always got a little, yes, chocolate.
Yes, and I think that's a great way to end. What did Prince do this week, week 15? Thank you so much, Michael Dean, for joining me on this journey as always.
Having me. Thank you. Thank you all.